Hello, Sara Haines.
Hello, Brian.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's a Thursday. I am here with you. Happy to be here. You were very sick earlier this week.
Yes.
You were out on Monday, and then Tuesday you braved it all and came in. I mean this in the kindest possible way.
I might have gotten other people's.
You look like death on Tuesday.
I know.
Looked like you were going through something. Tell us what happened without too
Telling
many
us
details.
what happened.
Yeah, without the details I've heard around the office.
Okay, well, no, but the worst part was it hit during church. You know, when you, like, I think that's the thing about a stomach bug you don't see coming is
Right.
You always mistake it for something's not sitting right.
Yeah.
So I go to church with the kids. Max doesn't come. So I'm in the church, and the kids always leave right after the music and go back to Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
They leave me, and all of a sudden I kind of feel that feeling like your mouth's watering. And I was like, is something wrong? I won't go into it. I stepped out. I got sick, whatever. I tried to sit through church because I thought, now that that's out of my system, whatever that was.
Right.
I end up sitting through the whole thing, and I'm like, I'm not okay. And so I had to go back we're not even done with church. And I go back to the Sunday school, and I'm like, I need the kids. You know, I wanted to do a dramatic scene of, I hate this place. Let my kids come. No, just kidding. But I went home, and then I got in bed, and I did not get out. That went on for well over 24 hours before I could really eat.
Right.
And then I came back too soon, but I'm also of that generation where it's so hard to be like, you only need to be out if you're on death's door, and every other day after that you should be working. You know, I just forget sometimes that, one, that's not the best thing for anyone around you. Two, when you haven't eaten or walked in 2 days, like, just basic movement's going to suck a little. And that's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, again, I was, my head's always like, how many hosts do I have today? Am I going to be able to do the show? And then you were coming in, and I appreciate it. But then I saw you. I was like, oh, if you need to go home, you should go home.
I know. It's bad when everyone in work is like, you maybe shouldn't be here. But what I dreaded was it was the car ride in that got me.
Yeah.
It got me more nauseous. And I hadn't been sick in more than 24 hours. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to get sick again. And then I dreaded going back home. And if I had to get in another car or move, I was like, that's worse.
Now, on the flip side, in the middle of that show on Tuesday, I texted you because I kind of liked On the Edge, Sara, because you were basically, you were worn down. You had no tolerance for anything. And at some point, I think it was Joy or somebody said, like, they can't elevate him and give him a mandate. And then you just turned.
No, she said we can't normalize Trump. I said, the voters normalize Trump.
No, it was like, the voters normalized him, Joy. It was like, whoa.
It came out stronger because I think my stomach was hurting at the table. And I kept thinking, church was one thing. Let's not do that. Let's not do this here right now.
So it was very exciting. Anyway, I like Sara
feisty.
On the Edge.
I think you said feisty, half dead Sara.
Feisty, half dead zombie Sara.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting
I'm
look.
going to work on this.
Yeah, I think it's something there. All right, so you said something that recently resonated with people online, and I want to go through it because you're basically just ringing the alarm bell for the working class and saying that President Trump is waging a class war that could only hurt them. Explain your thoughts here, but I'm getting late-breaking news. Trump apparently has just announced that he's pausing tariffs on most imports from Mexico until April.
We saw that coming.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think what I'm saying is that hard to see if your eyes are open. But one of the biggest things that has been a conversation about the kind of what the parties got right and wrong in this election was, how are we standing here with a Republican like Donald Trump winning the working class?
Mm-hmm.
And he won the working class, and he had a lot of support because he talked, we always talk about the price of eggs, but what we're not talking about is in the very people that put him into office. And you need the working class because you need numbers to be elected. And the working class is the massive swath of this country is the working class. So to win, you will need them. The people that won't put you in office by votes are the billionaires, but their money can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're hearing is we're gutting everything on the federal level. And I'm all for cleaning house because we all know there's bureaucracy and crap.
And waste, 100%.
I get it.
Yes.
Get it. One, I would say don't do it haphazardly. Get in there, learn it, become an expert, and then shave where you have to. But that's hurting working class people. These are federal programs. It's food stamps. It's everything that affects the people that need it the most right now. The person that's not going to go through any discomfort is Elon Musk. And I say that purely because even in his joint address to Congress, he said, Elon doesn't need to be doing this, kind of, which he's saying he has enough money. He doesn't need this job. Yeah, but what we're not hearing is if you are going to gut everything there and hit the people that put you in office, why aren't we at least addressing the fact that you're not asking those people with so much to give to just do a little more of their fair share of taxes. I'm not saying slap them with Bernie Sanders numbers. I'm saying I'll give you a number, you can have it, and just have them pay into the system. The reason this country has more billionaires than anywhere else is it benefits them to live here financially.
What frustrates me is not, like, to your point, because there is a lot of waste and a lot of bureaucracy, and I think it's frustrating for all Americans when that happens. I don't like the casual equating kind of when they call things fraud, when there's no evidence that it's fraudulent, where it's just simply waste. Waste, clean up, fraud, clean up, but don't say that something you're just not agreeing with is fraud. And fraud is a big loaded word. And I feel like if you're going to use it, you also need to document it and you need to show everybody. Because if there is fraud, get it, but show us exactly why it's fraud. And if you use it too lightly, then it becomes just a meaningless buzzword.
Well, and I'm also guessing that what they're bumping into that most people would agree, if you're not an extreme conspiracy theorist, is they're going to run into a lot of waste.
Yeah.
Waste is probably the part. It's bloated departments and all the things. But I take such umbrage. Thank you. With the hit of the working class, because I always say, clearly there are people that felt that was the best candidate, Donald Trump, and they voted for him.
Right.
But there's also a lot of people that are in bubbles hearing different versions of Donald Trump. So if you maybe watch Fox a lot or other things, and I've always said, I blame the people that know better. A Donald Trump that knows he lost an election is more egregious to me than people that fell for it. Fox News hosts who secretly, text that they know the truth of what happened and then they say something else on air. I don't blame the Fox viewer. So I've always had more grace and understanding for people that took everything around them, put it together, and came up with an idea. That's fine, but now you're literally hitting the people hurting the most. You ran on the backs of their votes. The two issues that won were immigration and the economy. It's not the price of eggs that everyone should be watching. It is they are going to hit you when it hurts. And by playing into culture wars, which is more fun because that's like a common boogeyman, you're dividing the math. You're saying, I'm going to do things against Black people. I'm going to do something against women and LGBTQ+. Now we're not a mass of one. We're all divided little lanes. If you come for the working class, or you recognize they're coming for the working class, that is a number that stands together. And that is the majority of this country by far. And that can win elections, which it did. And that's the part that really sucks because that's where it's going to hit.
We talked about the White Lotus scene today, which was kind of relevant because it was these three friends that are traveling together, and two of them realized that their friend may have voted for President Trump. Can you relate to that? I have a lot of friends that voted for President Trump.
Yeah, I'm usually not surprised. That's the thing, is you usually know the people that probably did and didn't, and we don't hash that out. But I had an incident right after the pandemic, not really an incident, but with childhood friends, that there's a big group of us, and we were all together, and someone had mentioned someone hadn't gotten vaccinated. And I remember I didn't take issue with that. And none of my thoughts went to this person actually is in a red state and very involved in her church and all the things. Not one hair on my body went to, oh my God.
Right.
I understand her. I understand how she got to where she is.
Right.
And I think when you know people personally, it makes you more able to navigate the landscape for me as an independent, purely because you're actually listening to people. You're curious, you're asking questions, you're listening to people. Let me say that 3 more times, because when you extend grace for other people and why they think the way they do, you're often more open to things that the jersey wearing partisans won't even give credit for. Like, I think this Supreme Court decision that just came down was a small win. Justices are doing their job. It's not about heroic action. But when you see the system work, I think we should applaud it as we see it. And I think that it's hard to do that if you're blurred by your own silo of people that think just like you. You're much more able to extend an open mind if you've ever respected, cared, or given grace to someone that disagreed with you. And my whole life is just a cacophonous noise of disagreement.
Cacophonous and umbrage on the same podcast. You're really going there for it.
I'm playing a word game with the producer, and I think I'm up about $50.
Oh, I want in on this.
Summer's like, was it me? Do I owe you?
You're talking to the control room
Sorry.
again.
I
Remember, we
love
talked about
because
this.
those were my good.
Yeah.
I wish you could shoot that group in
All right.
there.
None of them want. Nathan was on camera yesterday, and for those who missed it,
He probably started squirming a little.
no, he tried to take popcorn from Joy, and she almost took him out. So,
I would never do that.
Yeah, that was a foolish mistake.
That's a dumb move.
Yes.
Was it her skinny pop?
Yes.
Oh gosh, Nathan, were you born yesterday?
Yeah, it was.
Who are you?
I was really worried because he's a great producer.
He is a great producer.
All right, so we have a question from Sienna in Oregon. Hi, Sarah. You've been very open about going to therapy, read several self-help books, and offered sage life advice many times on the show. I agree.
Thank you.
What's your advice on letting go or getting over people who no longer serve you?
Hi, Sienna. Thank you for that question. I think one thing that's helped me do that, because when you are a people-pleasing person, there are times friendships weren't serving you for a long time and you put up with them because you kept thinking I can do more when the other person wasn't doing more. But one thing that really opened my eyes to that was when I had my kids. And it was unlike much of motherhood and parenting, that was a slow learning curve for me that took time. One of the most instant changes for me was the way I looked at time, because it became so precious and it was a commodity. In the beginning, it's just necessity. You are down, elbows in it, diapers, going to work, like you can't come up. Then it changes that need, but you realize anything you're choosing outside of your house, friends, otherwise, become a compromise of the time you're getting with those little people. And as it gets more fun, you're even more aware of, am I choosing to hang out with someone over Sandra? And who is that person? Because I love explaining to them that Papa and I need to hang out.
I'm laughing because it's always Sandra. I mean, you're not supposed to have favorites, but it's always Sandra. I'm just saying.
I mean, she is a bundle of joy. But no, but whether it's Alec, Caleb, or Sandra, I love explaining to them how important it is for Papa and I to have grown-up time. I love how important it is when I'm with my best friend Aaron, that Mama has a best friend too. And I'm not just a mama, I'm a best friend. But when you all of a sudden find that you don't have the 10-second pitch for someone, because why are you spending time with them?
Right.
That's your answer.
That's right. I like that a lot. Dan, do you keep tabs on people you've cut off with on social media and things like that? Look into the control room.
Oh, I forgot there's a visual.
Yeah.
No. Sometimes it gets in your face.
Sure.
Like things that happen. So I have had those moments.
This old boyfriends or old friends, or what are we talking about?
Oh no, the boyfriends. No, I like and hi.
Yeah. Okay, so you haven't cut off with them.
No, Max literally last week saw I had put an emoji on a friend's post, and he writes me, not like, what are you doing posting on this guy, your friends, like love heart, all this stuff. He's like, what do those bars mean? And he goes, I was like, I don't know, I didn't post that, I don't know what it is, and the conversation ends. That shows you, Max. Like,
what about the fact that you passive aggressively refuse to comment on anything I do on social media, but then will comment on what my wife posts?
I think you're muted.
Am I muted? Is that what's happening? Because let me tell you, it's very, very annoying to me.
Well, because Heather and I are friends.
What are we?
Colleagues.
Wow.
I mean.
How about boss and subordinate? How about that?
Well, Heather is. Yeah. Heather and I, we have a vibe. She makes me laugh.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad things are working out for the two of you.
She might have a better track record than some of my friends, so I gravitate.
It's just, when like we both post the same picture, and you like hers and ignore mine. It's just weird.
It catches my eye.
Okay. All right. We're not going to talk about that. Let's go back to your favorite child, Sandra. Mindy Kaling was here today, and she talked about seeing Whoopi and her daughter Alex at the Oscars. They both look so great. Oh. And how she can't wait to be able to do those kind of things with her daughters. Do you have those same feelings about Sandra?
I have them actually. I remember being in Disney on this show when I was missing Alex's first birthday, and I got really emotional thinking, someday, not only will we have Alec, but hopefully there are more. And this place, I can't imagine when they see it as little kids, Disney. And then flash forward when we went like a year and a half ago, I got emotional a few times, and Max saw me, and I was like, Max, I'm having that moment we spoke about on the phone when I was in Florida. And it hit us both that we were at the time knew Alec, but he was 1 and wasn't going to Disney, and hoped there were more, didn't know who those people were or what their faces were, but to be there for the moment I was speaking to was really a full circle moment.
That's fun. No, I'm getting to the point now where I'll get invited to an event or something, and then I'm kind of like, well, I should take my wife, but my daughter would really love this, and then then I have to choose. It's tough sledding. All right, so another thing about Mindy Kaling, she made a comment after getting her star on the Walk of Fame that she feels like now she has to work even harder to make sure that she earned it.
Yeah.
It feels crazy to think that that Mindy Kaling, of all people, has imposter syndrome, but this is something you've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Could you relate to that?
Absolutely. The easiest example of that is The View. I was a fan of this show for years. And I think when you hear the music and you realize you're one of the hosts of this iconic show you've watched, I say this a lot when speaking to people. Part of my research when I do, like when the producers give us notes or like for segments they're the expert on, or when we're researching a hot topic, I take that every day as a responsibility to show up worthy of the seat. Right. Because it has been filled by so many phenomenal, amazing, groundbreaking women.
That's
and
right.
to be part of that kind of sorority is an honor and a privilege. And I don't take it lightly.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. And I think everybody deals with it except Sunny Hostin, who's never felt imposter syndrome.
She is
in her
not.
life.
She's the only person I've ever met.
She legitimately, when we have this conversation, has no idea what we're talking about. It's I'm jealous.
Yeah.
All right. Tomorrow on the show, we've got a big guest, Nadia Suleiman, best known as Octomom. She'll be with us. She's telling her story as part of a new 6-part series on Lifetime, which I should say is a part-owned ABC part owned by ABC's parent company, Disney. You watched the docuseries. What surprised you most about her story?
Oh my gosh. It weirdly, like everyone else, and that's the point of why this is coming out now, is we haven't talked or seen or heard of the kid for years.
Yeah, they're 16 now, is that right?
Yes, the octuplets are, but she has 6. She has a total of 14. So 8 other kids. No, wait, 8. The octuplets are the 8. Sorry, 6 older kids.
Yeah, 8 plus 6 is 14.
Yes, back to math. Before them. So like, I don't think I was fully aware of. She had a full, what I would call, large family before the octuplets.
That's
so
right.
To like hear her story and to see her love for those kids, and then to remember the headlines when you're separated from time, and this was 2009. You're flashing back. Every time you flash back headlines for a story, like when Barbara Walters passed and we saw the headlines of things she had been a part of, you always find yourself catching like, oh my gosh. And that's usually because the headlines are about how society looked at the time, whether you're looking at Bill Clinton, whether you're looking at Barbara Walters and the male counterparts she
We talked about
with.
this with the Monica story last week,
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it's just the culture changes.
And so it's more a reflection of us than anyone else. Like you at first are like, I can't believe someone asked that, or I can't believe someone wrote that. But that collectively was the we and the us of society and how far we've made it. It's a reminder, though, that I do think this country specifically, as slow as we go, is always headed in the direction of progress, because that was just 2009. And when you watch this, which I would encourage people, it's actually fascinating. You're a little gut punched by the way she was treated.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the interview. So we're going to move on. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sara Haines.
Thank you, Brian.
Don't miss Nadia tomorrow on an all-new episode of The View. And then we will see you next week on Behind the Table on Monday. Thank you so much.